It was supposed to be a glamorous charity gala, a night of wealth and elegance under crystal chandeliers, until a millionaire lost his temper and turned the ballroom into a nightmare. In front of hundreds of guests, he struck his pregnant wife with a leather whip, 300 lashes of pure rage, while the crowd stood frozen in shock. But what he didn't know was that the woman he tried to break was the daughter of one of the most powerful CEOs in America. What follows is a storm of power, revenge, and cold justice that will shake the city to its core. Stay right here, because you won't believe how this story ends. Tell us what time you're watching and where you're tuning in from, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. The Waldorf Astoria gleamed like a palace that night. Crystal chandeliers hung above the marble floor, scattering soft blue light over the sea of gowns and tuxedos. Laughter mixed with the hum of a string quartet, and every table sparkled with champagne. Cameras flashed as New York's elite gathered for the charity gala of the year. No one could have guessed that before the night ended, that same ballroom would witness a scene of horror. Isabella Carter stood near the back of the room, her hands folded over her 7-month belly. Her light sky blue dress looked plain among the designer gowns around her. She had altered it herself that morning, sewing the seams tighter to fit her growing form. Her hair was neatly pinned, her face pale from exhaustion. She tried to smile, but her lips trembled. She did not belong in this glittering world anymore, though she once believed she did. Her husband, Edward Kane, stood at the center of the ballroom surrounded by admirers. He was the man of the hour, the ruthless millionaire investor who knew how to charm every crowd. His black tuxedo fit perfectly. His voice carried authority. His smile looked like confidence carved in stone. But beside him, clinging to his arm in a red silk gown, was Vanessa Moore, his mistress. She whispered something into his ear and laughed loudly enough for everyone to hear. Guests exchanged glances, pretending not to notice the wife watching from a distance. Isabella took a slow breath. Her hands trembled slightly, and she gripped her clutch tighter. She had begged Edward to let her stay home. Her ankles were swollen, her back ached, but he refused. "You'll come and smile," he had said coldly. "I won't have you embarrassing me by hiding." So she came, just as she always did, quiet and obedient, like the perfect wife he demanded. She stood there now, enduring the whispers and stares. Vanessa turned her head and smirked, raising her glass. Isabella looked away, her vision blurring. The air around her felt heavy, suffocating. She reached for a passing tray, needing something to hold on to. The waiter hesitated, then handed her a glass of red wine. She only wanted to blend in, to appear normal. But her hand shook, the glass tilted. A few drops of Bordeaux spilled across Edward's pristine white sleeve. Time stopped. The music faded. Conversations broke off mid-sentence. Edward's smile froze. He looked down at his sleeve, then at his wife. His eyes, gray and cold as metal, narrowed with rage. "You stupid woman!" he hissed. The guests stiffened. Vanessa's painted lips curled in amusement. "I'm sorry," Isabella whispered, her voice breaking. "It was an accident." Edward grabbed her wrist so hard she gasped. "You ruined my suit in front of everyone," he growled. "Do you even know what that costs?" She tried to pull away, but his grip only tightened. The room fell into an eerie silence. Even the quartet stopped playing. "Edward, please," she whispered. "Not here." "Why not?" he said, his tone sharp as glass. "Maybe this crowd should see what kind of wife I have." Before anyone could move, he dragged her toward the center of the ballroom. Champagne glasses trembled on tables. Cameras turned in their direction. He yanked the decorative leather whip from the charity display, a collector's item meant for auction. The crowd gasped. For a second, Isabella thought he was bluffing. He wasn't. The first lash cracked through the air like thunder. The sound echoed against marble walls. Isabella screamed, stumbling forward as pain tore through her back. The second lash struck harder, then another. "Stop it!" someone shouted, but no one moved. 50 lashes, then 100. Each one cut deeper than the last. Isabella fell to her knees, one hand clutching her stomach, the other bracing against the cold floor. Tears streamed down her face. She whispered to her unborn child between sobs, "Hold on, baby. Please hold on." Vanessa stood still, sipping champagne, her eyes glinting. Pathetic. she murmured to the woman beside her. The lashes continued. The whip cracked again and again until the air itself seemed to cry. Blood seeped through the thin fabric of Isabella's blue dress. Her breaths turned shallow. The pain blurred her vision, but one thought anchored her: protect the baby. She bent forward, curling around her belly, shielding it from the blows that rained down like fire. Guests whispered frantically, "She's pregnant," someone said. "He's lost his mind." But fear kept them frozen. Edward Kane was too powerful, too dangerous to confront. When the whip finally fell silent after the 300th strike, Isabella collapsed completely, her cheek pressed against the marble floor, cold and slick with tears. Edward's chest heaved with fury. He dropped the whip beside her and spat the words that silenced the room. "That's what happens when you embarrass me." No one moved. Cameras blinked like eyes in the dark. Then the doors at the far end of the ballroom opened. The crowd parted instinctively as a tall man in a black suit entered. His presence shifted the entire room. Conversations died. It was Robert Carter, CEO of Carter Holdings, the sponsor of the gala, the father of the woman lying broken on the floor. He had arrived late after an emergency meeting, unaware of what had happened. But the moment he saw Isabella's bloodied dress and her trembling hands covering her belly, his expression changed. He walked forward slowly. His shoes clicked against the marble. Edward turned, his smirk faltering. "Mr. Carter," he started, voice shaking slightly. "This isn't what it looks like. Robert cut him off. His voice was low, calm, but it carried through every corner of the hall. "You just beat my daughter." The silence was deafening. Robert knelt beside Isabella, gently lifting her head. Her lips quivered, her eyes half closed. "Dad," she whispered weakly. "I'm sorry." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You have nothing to be sorry for." His gaze rose to Edward. "But he will be."